Hey everybody, welcome to Inspire Your Success podcast. My name is Michael Leonard, former corporate zombie turned lifestyle entrepreneur. I'm on a mission to inspire millions of people to stop settling for average and create the life that you deserve. Each week, I'll be bringing on world-class experts, entrepreneurs, and high achievers to give you the inspiration to take massive action. I'm confident these successful people will give you the spark to create an epic life and business. Thank you so much for spending time with me today. Here's your episode. Welcome back to Inspire Your Success. I'm Michael Leonard, and I am so excited for you guys to hear this guest interview today. Today's guest on the show is Legacy Perez. If you don't know, Legacy is a world-famous dancer as well as a very successful real estate entrepreneur. He's appeared on hit shows like Dancing with the Stars and So You Think You Can Dance. He's also been in movies like the Step Up franchise, Green Hornet, Never Say Never, and Dance Flick. He's also appeared next to some of the biggest names in the music industry, including Chris Brown, Gwen Stefani, Mariah Carey, Justin Bieber, Rihanna, and more. In 2013, after a very successful career in film, movies, and dance, he transitioned into real estate, and he's become a seven-figure entrepreneur with his as a co-founder of Legacy Home Investments, LLC. He is one of the most inspirational guests that I've had on the show. I had so much fun filming this. You can tell he has a lot of passion for what he does. He's overcame a lot of obstacles in his life. He hasn't let fear hold him back, but he's went on to achieve amazing things, and I know that they can absolutely help you. So make sure to listen to this a few times. Legacy was very kind and gave me a full hour interview. It was, again, one of my favorite ones that I've done because I know it can have a huge impact on you, on your life, and on your business. So again, hopefully you enjoy this interview, and I will see you soon. All right, Legacy, thanks again for being here, man. Really appreciate it.
I'm glad to be here, man. Such a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Well, I love with all my guests, we always like to kind of dive in and figure out how you got to where you are. I know you've achieved a lot and really just getting started. I feel like you're a real inspiration to a lot of people. I love learning about your story at Thrive and just reading about it online. So love for you to kind of educate others and take us back. So can you talk about growing up and how you ended up getting out to Los Angeles?
So, the whole backstory is kind of interesting. I was born in New York, raised in Miami, family's Colombian. And while I was in Miami, it was about the year 2004. I had already been dancing, obviously. I was working at Universal Studios. I was sitting in a movie theater watching the movie You Got Served, which is a amazing dance movie that came out, which a lot of dancers that I know are in it, that I met after I moved out to LA. And so I'm sitting in the theater and realizing that some dudes that we had battled were in the movie as well. And I asked my friend, I looked over to him, I said, what's going on? Like, how can we be in movies too? And he said, well, everybody that's on that screen, they're in LA. You got to move to LA. So I literally got up, walked out, and he said, where are you going? I said, I'm moving to LA. So it was that quick, and that split decision where I said, if you're telling me that I just needed that piece of information, if you're telling me that that's where I need to be, then that's where I'm going to go. And so he took off with me, $240 in our pocket. Literally, I thought he had more money. And we ran out of gas in New Orleans and pulled over, got a radio, went to Bourbon Street in New Orleans, and literally performed on Bourbon Street for donations, made $600 tax-free. And it was really cool. From that moment, we continued our journey. We got to LA 4 days later, and street performed in 3rd Street Promenade, Santa Monica. And we obviously got arrested because we need a permit. So we went to get a permit as well. The guy let us go because we had Florida driver's license. And then from that moment, we got an agent. And shortly after, our career literally blew up. And I think, and I want to emphasize, like, it's cool about the story, but how it pertains to the people listening and the viewers, I think it's important to realize that even though those moments of me making those split decisions, there was fear in the back of my mind, but I think the overall vision of having that clarity of what you want is what I'm getting the chills as I'm speaking about it, because I've never really said this part of the story. I always kind of break it up into my story, but I want to make sure that everyone knows when it pertains to them and how they can succeed. I think that's the turning point. So seeing my success skyrocket literally through the ability of not seeing having the fear in the back of the mind, but knowing I've got a clear vision, a clear, precise goal, which was to be in a movie. It was my clearly defined goal or dream, and all I needed was a burning desire for that achievement, and I had it. Obviously, I took off to physically get in your car, leave from Miami, Florida to Los Angeles. It's about a 3,000-mile trip, 2,800 to 3,000 miles. Is not something that's like, all right, let's just do it. There's planning involved. There's things like that involved. But I was so tenacious on wanting that dream so bad that I took off. And once here, it's the work. I didn't just land and things started coming to me. It was like I landed, meaning not landed because I drove, but I arrived in LA and I started battling all the major choreographers at clubs. I started going out and asking people where auditions, where agents. I didn't care. I didn't take no for an answer. I was so driven and so devoted and persistent, and I didn't care about what anybody said, meaning like, oh yeah, it takes a long time. And I was like, no, it's going to happen now for me. And so that attitude translated into people putting me in a movie. Dave Scott, I battled at a club, and he was laughing. He was like, dude, you got so much fire in you. Like, I got to put you in something. And ended up being in Step Up 3, Hannah Montana, Never Say Never. I ended up being in Justin Bieber's Never Say Never, Hannah Montana's movie as well, Green Hornet. I was in various movies, and obviously the goal was that I achieved it, and it was like, what's next? And so from there, it propelled into going on So You Think You Can Dance season 6 as a finalist, and making it pretty far, and having a career with touring with Gwen Stefani, Mariah Carey, Chris Brown I've performed with. So it's like you see the level of success, but it's only achieved by the hard walls that I ran into, and how I got over those hurdles, I believe is the key to reaching those goals that you set out for yourself.
That's an amazing story. I loved it. I was reading about it more the last few days too, just to get ready for this. And there's so much to unpack in there. I mean, it really, like, I have the chills too, because I love this. Like, the reason I started this show is to really get these stories out from people, because everyone always sees the after. They see, I saw you at Thrive. People see you doing all these great things, see you in movies, but they don't know that this was years and decades in the making, right? And so talk about like the passion that you had for dance and everything before you had that burning desire, before you just packed up and moved. I mean, this is a lifelong passion, right?
Yes. So my dancing, obviously there's a backstory to my dancing. And obviously I shared it on stage, and I'll share it now, where, it's the biggest thing in life that I think we as humans need to always grab onto is our past. Like, what happens in our past shapes who we are in the future, until you're in, whether good or bad, and unless you're able to self audit and look at what's going on and have emotional intelligence. That's when you start to grasp how to maneuver yourself through life, to be able to take the good and the bad and your attributes and create something of your life. So it's like I started, I remember the earliest memory of me being, I was in 5th grade because I won an award. It's somewhere around here. I won an award for the highest physical fitness achievement award, because I remember in 5th grade, there was a moment where my mom and my brother left the country because their papers were expired, and they needed to go back to Colombia to get their paperwork corrected and stuff. And so I stayed with my dad, and literally it was a moment where I didn't understand. Like, nobody said anything to me because I was a kid, and I have a 9-year-old son, but I see now the importance for all the fathers and mothers out there, all the parents, how important it is to speak to your kids as if they were adults. Because I didn't understand. Nobody said anything to me. They just said, "Oh, she's going to go on a trip." And when she left, it was like I would say it was probably one of the toughest moments. And I didn't realize this until later, but it was one of the hardest moments for me. It was just detrimental for me because emotionally, because it felt like my mom and my brother got ripped out from my arms. And so they left, and that being with my mom and my dad living together at various points in my life, and they were divorced. So they were just staying together for us, which then later on, I'll kind of let you guys know later on, it ended up being when we were 17, 18, 19, and we left the house. My parents were like, okay, our identity was being parents or not parents and not a couple. And all of a sudden, the kids are gone and we're no longer parents. Their identity was like, all right, well, who are we? What do we do? What have we been doing with our lives? So I think there's a lot to unpack there, but I'll just go back and continue with, so my mom left. Now I became very angry inside. And so thus doing all the physical fitness achievement award that I got was just like, I was literally doing the most pull-ups, running the fastest mile. I was doing everything out the shuttle run. I was doing super fast. Everybody was like, whoa, this guy, he's quick. He's amazing. But it was because I had this chip on my shoulder. It was because I had this pain that I had inside, which I had not yet realized. Then I remember laying on my dad's chest when we were about to go to bed. And I told him, I said, I can't stay still, Dad. And he's like, don't worry, you're fine. Just breathe, relax. He didn't understand what I meant. I was literally, I created inside my body this anger. I felt like created these twitches. And at that moment, it wasn't any twitches. It was like movement. I was just, I couldn't stay still. And then from that I went to 6th grade, started playing the piano, and I started doing these twitches with my fingers and then and so my mom, when she got back, she took me to a doctor. And of course, in the doctor's office, I was like, yeah, nothing's wrong with me. And I would stay still. And so finally it was like, she would cry because she's like, there's something wrong, but you're hiding it, whatever. And I'm like, no, I'm fine. And I realized they were getting worse and worse, and they were changing and shifting, and it was different things. And people were saying, it's this thing, Korea. It's called Korea, this thing, because I had rheumatic fever when I was younger. It's a couple of the things that people were like, oh, it's he needs to see a neurologist. And I would go to a neurologist and be like, well, he's not twitching. And it's like, it was this thing I was ashamed of, and I was hiding it, and I was afraid. And it was this pain that I was just putting away for a very long time. And I realized when I got to 9th grade that I could hide my twitches through this dance that I discovered. A friend of mine came and did a show and tell. His name is Leo. He came and did a show and tell, and he was able to showcase what he was doing. And I was like, I got to learn this dance. And so in my twitches, I would be able to hide my twitches through my dancing. So imagine I found a vehicle to hide. And I made this vehicle so powerful, so strong, that I literally became the best at movement, at dance. Like I became the best to me in the world because I expressed myself through movement, because I was always shy to speak. I couldn't really read very well or fast. I don't want to say I was dyslexic or anything or illiterate, but I could read just very slow. I had like my ability to learn because of, I'm assuming there was ADD in me and undiagnosed, but I feel like I couldn't pay attention to things that I didn't really care about. So it's important because as kids, nobody tells us, oh, you should redirect this energy to that. No one tells us, you have this superpower of obsessing over something you love. Double down on that. Nobody says that to you. So of course I figured it out on my own, and I started dancing and continuously dancing. And so through that, I was able to, land these jobs, these gigs. So I think the basis of that story and why I share it is because there's a lot of kids out there that have these learning disabilities or this ability to see other things that other people don't see. And I think it's important for those people watching to know that you personally have something amazing about you. That for me, it was like, oh, I twitch. I'm insecure. I can't read very well. I can't pay attention. My school grades are bad. My parents are yelling at me. I'm rebellious. But on the other side of that, on the other side of the coin, it's like I'm driven. I'm obsessive. I'm devoted. I'm passionate. I'm inspired. I'm consistent. I'm persistent. It's like it's like, wow, this little kid that's rebellious can actually put in his mind what he wants. And it was to hide my twitches, to be able to learn this culture, this dance, and break it down. And thus, if you really take that story and fast forward into now, I got into real estate, and I was obsessive. I was devoted. I was driven. I was like, if I could do what I did with dance, and mind you, I started, this is a career that I never, like, it's a business that I was like, I'm just going to start it because I want to do it. But at my age, I was like, how am I going to start something when all I've ever done is dance, street perform. I've never had business encounters. Like, how am I going to run a business, let alone a 7-figure business now? And it's like, do I learn? How do I learn? And then I realized myself, I said, if I can put exactly what I put into my dancing to my real estate business or any other business, that's when it happens. And that's when it happened. And I started propelling very fast. I started reaching the top. I started networking and learning and speaking and sales and negotiations and how to create win-win situations, and the language, the verbiage. Like, in my mind, it's like the ceiling, the roof, the baseboards, the carpet was the same mindset I did when I was learning flares, windmills, swipes, top rock, footwork, freezes, head spins, backflip, gainer full. Like, I was that same way. I put those into those 2 different verticals. And I firmly believe that if everyone out there does the same exact thing, if you guys literally take what you know and what you've been amazing at and put it into the next thing you want to do, or the thing that you're most passionate about, you cannot fail.
I love that. I think that is so big. So many people just have these passions, but they don't know what to do with them, or think that I can't really succeed with it or make money from it. And I think that holds a lot of people back. So I love with your story too, is that it was kind of an example of life happening for you, right? Like, you had these twitches that most people would think like, oh, this is like not going to help, or I don't know what to do, and have all these other, childhood issues that a lot of people have, not being able to have these certain things, but then you use it to then be your biggest skill. And then you're absolutely just, crushing it. It sounds like when you're starting out as dance too, I'm curious, what were you doing to really like get better and learn all these skills? Like, what made you think when you went to that theater, like, I could be in a movie? Like, what did you do in the years before that to really step up your, to quote unquote, step up your game?
Going back towards the obsessive part, the first move I ever learned was a flare. A flare is like in the gymnastics, they put their hand down and their legs come up. And I just wanted to do a flare because I was like, that would be cool. So obviously, the first thing I learned was top rock, which is you step forward, step back, open your legs, and then you kick and you do a flare. And so for that, it was like, dude, this is awesome. This is great. What else is there? And it's like, okay, well, there's footwork. Okay, well, what's footwork? Footwork is 6 steps that you do around on the floor with your hands, helping you out and like supporting you. And I was like, all right, so how do you get from the top to the bottom? It's like, well, you got to transition. There's this go down, there's this go down, there's this go down. And I'm like, how many go downs are there? Because I have that personality where it's actually learned, but I have the ability to, when I learn something, I want to learn all of it. Like, you can't just say, all right, here's, if I started juggling, I would want to juggle with different items, with heavier things, with more things, like six balls instead of like 1 or 2 or whatever it is. Like, I would learn and I want to do everything. And if there's character in between. So when dancing came along, it was like, all right, you got top rock. How many top rock steps are there? Infinite. And I'm like, oh crap, I gotta learn all these and make up some at the same time. And so I started wanting to learn the culture behind it, because obviously I'm like, where did this dance come from? Oh, it's hip hop. What's hip hop? Wow. Run DMC, like Sugar Hill Gang, Sugar Hill Gang, KRS-One, Rocksteady Crew. I started learning like Africa Bambaataa, like all of the history behind it as well. So of course that made me want to get better, and battling. They were like battling, and it has a competitive nature. And it's like, yo, where I want to battle, and I would go to the little skating rink that I learned at, Hot Wheels, and I would battle. And I'm like, dude, every time I battle, I get better because I see what they're doing and I want to do their stuff and do it better. And so I'm learning different power moves, different footwork tricks, transitions, how to make it look seamless, how to slide. And I remember my mentor telling me, when you can make it look effortless, where that you feel like anybody watching you can feels like they can do it too, because it looks easy. When you make it look easy, that's when you're doing it right. So my consistency was trying to make it very fluid, trying to make it feel like it wasn't hard work, trying to make it be organic. And I think that's what allowed me to see my improvement very fast. And the name Legacy came from, because at 8 months, I went to a competition where people were dancing about 3 or 4 years, and I came in second place. And somebody came up and goes, "Who's this kid coming out of the woodworks from Miami? Legacy, this name Legacy." And I remember one of my buddies told me, "Man, how did you get so good so fast?" This is before I had Legacy as my like what people call me. The world calls me Legacy now, not because I feel like I'm a legacy, but because I'm constantly trying to live up to it. That's kind of the mindset that I have. And he said to me, "Dude, somebody must have passed down the legacy to you." And I was like, crap, that is huge. I love that name. It was easy to say, and my boys called me Legs. So it was really that's kind of the origin story of how my drive and passion in dance allowed me to get so good, because I was obsessive over the details of the dance, and one step at a time literally allowed me to progress and become, one of the top during my era.
That is so cool. And I think people need to just like hear that, and just, it's all about consistency. It's not like you were just doing it a little bit, like you were fully immersed in this. You're learning from people, you're battling people, you're doing whatever it takes. Like you want to learn it all. I love that. Like so many people just dabble, and you're never going to get great at anything if you're dabbling, right?
No, I'm going to tell you right now, I've seen people come and go. When you dabble, I have an analogy. When I do something, how you do anything is how you do everything, right? But when I start something, it's very hard for me to stop. And I think, and I want to make sure everyone knows, I burn my ships when I pull up to the island for a war. I burn my ships and I go, it's either I win or you die. And so that mindset allows for no type of retreat. And granted, there's the thing where, okay, what if it fails? Yeah, well, you do something long enough, you learn the ropes long enough. I don't feel like, and you have the mentality that failure is a stepping stone that allows you to see what you can improve on. If you have that mindset, I have a couple friends that make hundreds of millions of dollars, and they have adapted the mindset of, and we always hear it, failure, it's, how you take failure, and failure, a lot of people don't take well because of their emotional attachment to it. But once you get failure as a stepping stone and you obsess over something, it's very difficult to not achieve results. It's very difficult to not supersede in it. It's when you dabble that it becomes, well, what if I don't make this? What if I don't make enough money? If the money is the factor on why you do it and you don't have money to start off with, it's never going to work. I'll repeat that. If money is the reason why you're starting a business and you don't have money already, like I'll give you an example. I would start a vending machine with freaking healthy snacks right now because I already have money. I want to invest in that. I would never go, well, let me try vending machines. I'm not passionate about vending machines, nor I'm passionate. I love food, but I'm not passionate about like food. Like, okay, I love food. Oh my goodness. It's my life's purpose to make good food for people. Like, I don't really care. Feed people? Maybe. Yeah. All right. I'll give to a charity that feeds people. But for me, that's not a big thing. So ultimately, I wouldn't start that right away. And if I did it because of the money, I'd already have to have money in place. Does that make sense?
That makes 100% sense. Yeah. I mean, if you chase the money and you're not passionate about it, you're just going to keep chasing it forever. Exactly.
Bingo.
No, I love that. So just so excited to hear about this journey too, because you burned the boats. You talked about that. That's so huge. Did you say you went the next day, by the way, after? So you see the movie, you're like, why am I not in this? The next day?
The next
That
day.
is so much commitment. How old are you at this time?
I'm 37.
So when you made the move?
I'm 37 now. I made that move when I was 24.
24. Okay. So I want to give people a little picture. So it's 24.
All right, let's just do this. I was 24 years old and I made what I call a defining moment decision.
Right.
And I literally at 24, a lot of people are still afraid. A lot of people are trying to figure out their stuff. And just like myself, had no clue what was going to happen. I was working at a tire shop prior to that. And at that moment, I was dancing at Universal Studios Orlando, doing some street shows that we had got contracted for. And I just felt like it was time. It was time for a change. It was time for improvement. It was time for the next level. I feel like life is in phases. And if you know how to take these phases and understand when they come and how they're coming and how they show up, then all of a sudden, you know when it's time for the next phase of your life and you're moving forward. And I think that's what allows you to propel to your next level, to everyone's next level.
That's so cool. So when you're 24 and you're moving to across the country, it's a brand new, so you're going to have a new environment. You're going to be around new people. You're going to have new experiences. That's how you really make shifts. I tell people a lot about that. Like you can't, again, just dabble with change. It has to be something that you really commit to. So what is it like at the beginning there? What kind of challenges are you facing? Is any self-doubt coming in? Is any negative talk, or does it just, you're finally aligned with everything and you just put your head down and start working? How long is it before you get these big gigs that really kind of propel your career to the next level?
There's always doubt. There's always self-confidence. I believe that obstacles, those are obstacles for me. And obstacles, I believe, are opportunities. And so if we're able to see that as an opportunity, then it starts to create space for you to reach certain levels, right? Certain results. So one of the things that I remember when I got here, it was I don't have the right look, and I was looking for other people's approval. And granted, I would dance and be like, yo, you got the right look. You got a pep in your step, dude. You're going to do fantastic out here. And that's what friends of mine told me. And I remember, and with that reassurance, I had other people that was telling me, you know what, you can't make a living dancing. That's crazy. How could you ever move? You're already old. 24, you should have done it at 16, 17, 18, 19. Like you're wild. That's never going to happen. And so I think having that chip on my shoulder of the people telling me what I couldn't do was part of my success. If I let those people get the power over me and I believed them, and if they were professional dancers that made it in the industry and told me I couldn't do it because I didn't have it, then I might have listened. But because they were not in the position that I wanted to be in, I took it as a challenge. I said, you know what? Let's do it. Test me. Like, I want to come back in a year and be like, what did you say again? Like, I didn't buy my mom a condo. I didn't buy myself my dream car, $50,000 dream car. Not to brag about money, but dancers don't buy themselves $50,000 cars. Not at that time. I was one of the first people to like buy a pretty pimping car. It was a 1991 Acura NSX. I put it on my dream board. I visualized it. I made money and I freaking went and got it, and I repaired my credit and I figured out how to fix credit in a very short amount of time. I read books. I started educating myself, and bam, all of a sudden it's like you've got these things that come to you because you're visualizing that you want them and you're doing the work. It's like success happens when opportunity meets hard work. And there's always success happens when opportunity meets hard work. And I was putting in the time. I was putting in the hours.
Yeah, it sounds like you went all in. I mean, you weren't just there for dancing. You were also investing in your mind a lot. You talked about visualizing. Can you talk a little bit more about that? And is that something you do on a regular basis, or something, after reading Think and Grow Rich and so many other books, people talk about just the wiring your brain for success before it actually happens. So do you have a vision board, or is that a daily practice for you?
Um, part of, and just to go back to your question real quick before we answer that, it took me about 30 days to land a gig.
Okay.
Because the first 15 days were just me trying to battle everybody at clubs. Just because I was like, you're a choreographer and I don't think you're better than me because I'm a b-boy and I spin on my head and you're just dancing on your feet. It was a street mentality, but at the end of the day, I'm like, wow, they know about business, about choreography. So it took me about 30 days to land my first gig, and it was a USA Network commercial. So I just wanted to touch topic on that.
Yeah.
The next thing is my visualization. I'm going to tell you this. I struggle with visualization. If you were to tell me right now, Legacy, close your eyes and visualize and figure it out. I'm a dreamer, so I can visualize things. But what I'm talking about is not just regular visualization. It's not just me closing my eyes and seeing. I could see $2 million, $3 million in my bank account, right? I could do that. But I don't feel it. I don't feel like when you visualize. So I can remember my earliest memory of remembering a visualization. I was laying in my bed and I was thinking of a dance move, a combo that I was dreaming about. And I woke up and I started thinking about it and I started feeling it and I started getting the chills. And I was like, dude, I feel like I can do this. And I went to the living room, I moved the table, and I freaking did the move. Visualized it, then I did it. Another time it happened, a lot of times I would think about, I'm getting the chills because I think about when I remember, okay, oh man, I can see myself winning a competition, and I would feel it. So visualization is not just keeping your eyes closed or even thinking about it. There's moments that I get these glimpses, and a lot of times it happens when I have negative thoughts. Like I'll visualize negative thoughts of something. And then my emotional intelligence kicks in and I'm like, hold on a second, man. You're doing negative things in your mind. Stop it. So I'm a victim of allowing myself to have these negative thoughts. However, I quickly gauge it, correct it, bring it back, and replace those with better thoughts, with good thoughts. And so what I found is sometimes these visualizations come easily. Like I can sit there and be like, dude, I can see it, like the finish line. Yes, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. And I'm going to make this sale and I'm going to make $100 grand. Fantastic. But other times it's like, oh man, like I want to be able to visualize the sale and it won't happen. So I think it's just a practice of having yourself. I have vision boards and whatnot, but most of the time it's how fast can I get a thought in my head? How specific can I meditate myself to not be so ADD and control my energy, bring it in, focus on this, and allow myself to feel this, to feel the experience of the vision that I'm having, and then executing ideas on how that vision can happen. I think there's a lot that goes into not just visualizing, but creating the execution aspect of it for that you can see results. So you're able to see results.
That is so good. I hope people just listen to that over and over again, because I'm working with a business coach, and he's also used to be a master hypnotist and NLP coach. So he's very, very aware of it. And he talks about, he's like, well, Think and Grow Rich really shouldn't have been the title, because think is one thing, but it really should be Feel It and Grow Rich, because you have those feelings, you're actually sending out the right vibrations, you're able to execute on it. He's like, if everybody thought and they'd be rich, everyone that read the book would be millionaires. He's like, but that's not really how it works. So I'm glad that you talked about the importance of feeling, because I've struggled with that too. I'm not like someone, I just close my eyes and I just see it. Sometimes it just doesn't happen, and then I beat myself up and it actually turns into a negative experience. So I think that's really cool. And you talk about executing on the plan. So can you talk a little bit too about, like, you obviously had a plan. It sounds like you always kind of see it at first or have a game plan, but if you just sit there and meditate on it forever, that's not going to do it, right? We know you need to actually take action on a consistent basis. So can you talk about maybe some of the ways you always are trying to stay persistent towards your goals? Is it something that you struggle with sometimes, but you just do it anyways?
Part of learning, I know a lot of people out there are these influencers, and not to knock them, but they put themselves on a pedestal, like, yeah, this is what you got to do. This is what you got to do. I think right now it's the turn of the century where you literally, everything I talk about, I feel like I talk about it because I want it. I want to be it. I don't talk about it because I'm perfect and I can knock it all out. Like, look, you asked me about visualization. I said I suck at it. Sometimes it comes, depends on how obsessive I am over whatever it is. But I think it's a work in progress where, like, maybe somebody will write a book called Think, Feel, and Grow Rich. I don't know. Like, you have these, I have this vision of writing a book, speaking about books. And I literally sit there going, I start it and then I don't do it. And then I start it and then I don't do it. And then I start it and then I don't do it. I'm like, why am I not executing on the book? And it's like, well, probably not ready. Maybe because I'm scared. Maybe because of this. So I actually write down, what I do is I write down the things that are stopping me from doing something. And I think that allows you to see then what's really in your way. And then I go 7 layers of why. Tam, I'm gonna write that down because that's the first time I've said it, but it's something I always do. I'll just have it on here anyway. 7 layers of why, where I'll sit on the beach and I'll think about why I feel a certain way or what I'm thinking about, and then, or what I want to do. And then I ask myself why. So it'll go something like this. I want to be an influencer. Why? Because I want to be able to help people in the world. Why? Because I didn't feel like I had the same help that I could have been for myself, for my younger self. So I want to create that. Why? Because, I want people to know who I am. Why? Because I want to feel like I loved. Why? Because I wasn't loved as a kid. Why? Because I want to feel significant. Why? Because I don't.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. I just read about that exercise in Dean Graziosi's book. And I was like, wow, that is a powerful exercise. And I think it's easy to get through those first 2 to 3. But when you have to start digging in, that's really where people can figure out like, oh, this is why I really want it. Or this is maybe why I'm not actually taking action. So no, thank you for sharing that. That is super powerful. And I think an exercise that can help anybody kind of take some action, because again, it's easy to be scared, have those feelings that, you're not enough or can't do it, or, you're not, you're too old, too young, whatever, all these made up things that we talk about. So that's really cool. So to transition a little bit too, when you are, really succeeding as a dancer at this point, you're in the movies, which is amazing. You're on these big Hollywood sets, you're working with unbelievable talent. I'm curious if you picked up anything from these people or started to notice that they have certain tendencies, because, you were talking about working with Justin Bieber, Mariah Carey, like all these big stars. They didn't get there just because of luck, right? They were there because they had the right habits and work ethic. So anything you could share with us that you maybe took away lesson-wise from these really successful people?
Meeting Justin Bieber, I've always had this ability to. And granted, a lot of people notice the celebrities because they're known, like they're household names and everybody's seen them and they're familiar. And I realized that they're just like us. Like, it's not like I've never been starstruck ever. And maybe once when I saw Tara Reid, when I had a big crush on her. But when I was doing the NBA All-Star 2003 or something, halftime show or something like that, I literally realize they're just like us. And what I found is that they have teams, they have people around them. They're talented, but talent alone only gets you so far. It's adapting that mindset. It's being teachable. It's being moldable. Even though you're going to be firm on the way you sing, you can still be like, oh, I can't be rude to people because then they won't want to work with me. Okay, I got to bring down my attitude, or, like they have that like lovely adaptability. It's almost like they're gangster at networking and promoting and marketing. Like they're just good. So take the talent, strip it away. They're still wonderful people. Mm-hmm. So add the talent, you got a freaking celebrity that everybody wants to listen to, pay attention to. And I'm talking about soccer players too, like their talent, anybody in the talent space. What about acting? Well, take somebody that's amazing people skills, and then they're able to take a script and make it their own. Singers are able to take sound and words and make it their own. Dancers are able to take movement and make it their own. It's this constant ability to take something and make it your own, which creates originality. I think there's less of that now than there ever was. YouTube has allowed people to be creative, to be cloned. Back when I started, I just had a couple of mentors that I visualized, that I would see their videos, and then I visualized what I wanted to be like. And it was like, well, I've got, Storm from Europe, Germany, with Crazy Legs and Ken Swift, and I want to mold their attitude and their style with their flavor and the power moves of the Europeans. And all of a sudden you get legacy. I don't copy anybody's stuff. I've all original, and you can see my silhouette. And if people saw me from 96 when I started, they'll see my silhouette. They'll be like, that guy, I know who that is. And so you want to create that silhouette of yourself in any industry, in any business, because at the end of the day, you want to pave the way to be able to say that person did it and they did it different. And even if you copied someone's system or their whatever it is that they're doing, and you have a mentor, learn how to take that and make it your own. Add your own personality, add your own flavor, add your own style, and you'll see the difference between copying somebody and being another person that does something similar, or being you that does it different.
I think that's very true. I think originality is hard to find as much these days. We just are bombarded with content everywhere we look. And so it's like we're on our phones all day and it's a lot of the same stuff. But yeah, if you can be different out there, you can really create your own niche for yourself and your own audience. So that's very, very, very awesome. I'm curious then. So you're working at it for a while. I mean, you get in all these big movies. What eventually made you transition into entrepreneurship with the real estate? I know that started, was it a little after like 2012, 2013?
Yeah, 2013, I went, it started a little bit sooner than that. In 2000, I would say 2008, 2009, I was reading Think and Grow Rich. I was reading How to Win Friends and Influence People. I was reading and all these books are very important if you haven't read them, or if you're looking to start entrepreneurship, or are looking to do self-development and just learn better communication, which I consider myself a big fan of. I started learning about credit and how it works and how to repair it, and all these letters and the FCBA letters and the legalities and how to do certain things. And I loved that aspect of the world that I didn't know about. It was a different world for me. And then I would go to seminars and sit there and learn and understand and try to figure out what they were talking about. And I just became a fan of business because, and to be honest, I'll just be super transparent, I wanted to be respected. Ever since I was growing up, I went through puberty late. All my friends went through puberty, like 12-year-olds going through puberty. I went through puberty like 16, 17. So it was like, I felt already like I was just little, insecure, doubted myself. And even though I was, pretty awesome at what I did, I played soccer, had scholarships, I didn't make grades to go. So I feel like there's a lot that was packed of insecure moments in my life. And so that being said, it was like, I wanted to be respected in business. I wanted to be, someone that people wanted to do business with. And what I did have is the ability to meet somebody and make them feel like I've known them for years. High school friends, like literally, I learned how to do that. My dad is a gangster at that. He used to be a salesman, used to sell encyclopedias in New York before he even spoke English. Used to sell he's just good with people. And so I learned that trait and that attribute from him, and realized very quickly that people want to do business with people that are like them or who they want to be like. And it's so powerful to know that, because I knew that if I learned the business too, that I would succeed, because I had already learned and wanted and obsessed over how to communicate better, how to create win-wins in business, how to do business ethically. Coming from the street of Miami, I'm like, it's like you tend to want to do things halfway and not so clean. And it's like, no, your reputation is on the line. And when you get into business and you're talking money and numbers and credit and freaking taxes, then you're like, well, I could go to jail if I do something wrong. So let me start learning how it's done. And you start learning from the people that are doing it big. I learned from my millionaire friends. And when I say millionaire friends, it's just that they figured out the success habits that they need to do and how to create money. And their emotional attachment to money is their relationship is they have a great relationship with money. They're not fearing the loss of it, or they understand abundance. And so learning these things I constantly had in my system. Can I do business, have fun with it, bring the legacy essence into it, and make it fun? And that's why I fell in love with real estate.
That's awesome. And so that was probably about 6 years ago, you said now.
Yeah.
When you got started, were you kind of having some of those beginning, like, getting over some fears? And I mean, obviously you're entering a new arena. You really conquered the other one, and you had just, very popular household name. And now you're getting into something that's brand new. So one, great job, because I know a lot of people would just play in their safe zone and like, hey, I already did it, but you're over here now building a 7-figure business. So were there any things you had to kind of overcome? Because I think a lot of people want to start a side hustle that, gets them out of their 9-to-5 or go full-time on their business, but they still have that fear kind of holding them back. Is there any advice that you might have for someone that's still just kind of getting over that fear of starting their own business?
Look, the fear is scary to people. When you start realizing that fear is your best friend, that's when things will start to change. Nobody thinks fear is your best friend. Like, that's crazy. That's preposterous. You're like, how do you manage, how do you handle, fear? It's like, be optimistic. It's like, no, man, no. Fear is the vehicle. If you are avoiding fear, you're avoiding uncomfortable. You're avoiding living. Like, fear is life. When you realize that fear is life, you will win.
I love that. That is so good. You're right. Everyone avoids fear, and instead, if you just embrace it, it's your ally. Oof, yeah. That's good.
Yeah, man. I get passionate, bro.
I love it, man.
Fired up because,
dude, I love it. I mean, again, so many people are being held back from because their own talk, and people like you and me, we're trying to help. We're trying to get some of those messages out there, because this stuff isn't taught in school. I mean, this is stuff we have to figure out on our own. So there are so many people in so much anguish and so much fear. And they're not looking at fear as their friend. They're looking at fear as their enemy. And how can I avoid it, or how can I get rid of it? And it's like the moment I started confronting anxiety, like what that did to me, was the moment it started going away. I was like, give me more of this feeling of anxiety. Am I going to die? Like, make me die then right now, if that's the ultimate feeling. And it's like the more I started embracing it, the faster it was going away. And I was like, no, don't go away. Come back. Like, where are you at? And it's that thought of having that ability to shift the way you think, to think a little bit more improved. And it's not changing. Like, freaking my buddy Cole Hatter always says, like, nobody wants to change. I don't want to change. That's for damn sure. But I want to improve. Mm-hmm. And if I can improve 5%, 10%, 1%, then I'm not the same person I was yesterday or 5 minutes ago. And so that growth mindset needs to happen. And fear is a big component of it. If you embrace fear, I'm telling you, everyone watching, like, you have to know the biggest thing that you're avoiding is the thing that you need. The biggest thing you're avoiding is the biggest thing you need. Feel the fear and do it anyway. That is so good. And I love it because that's like, again, the reason I started this. I want to try and combine entrepreneurship with personal development, because you're only as good as your business is only as good as you are. Right. And you talk a lot about evolving, which is so true. I mean, you can't build $1 million or $1 billion business if you just want to be the same person. Like, so I love that you said fear is your best friend. I hope people are really listening to that and can just like seek out fear, and then it won't be scary anymore, right? You'll eventually overcome it. So Can you talk a little bit too, just, you said it was like 2008, 2009 when you started reading the books, going to the seminars. I'm a huge proponent of that. Just released a podcast today about my first Tony Robbins I did a few years ago, and that shifted how I saw these things. Can you talk about how important personal development has been for you in growing your business?
Michael, it's personal development is the essence of growth. It is the essence of leadership. It is the essence of taking humans to the next level. There's nothing more beautiful than someone wanting to learn about themselves, and not in a narcissistic way, but learning about themselves on why they do the things that they do, and getting better in dealing with situations that come up. And I think that the emotion of it is being smart enough and educated enough to know, I'm getting upset. Why am I getting upset? Don't get upset, because that's I always, anger is the punishment we give ourselves for someone else's behavior. And it's like, how do I learn more about myself? Or you learn the principles, you learn self-development, you learn what the self wants, the desires, the needs, why we do things, with who we want to do them with. Essentially, like, we learn lifestyle. We see other people doing, and we're like, awesome. What are they thinking? What are they feeling? What do people need? What do people want? And so the psychology of people in general, I think it's a beautiful thing, because now, again, back to my point, allows us to communicate with each other. To, like, this world is so massive and there's so many things going on. Like we're really all insignificant. Like, I was watching the freaking, what is it called? Will Smith is something on Netflix called Strange Rock or something like that. And it talks about how tiny we are we're little specks of dust. Like, so the more impact we can make for our other specks of dust in this world, the more impact, the less we can stop living in individuality and sitting at home depressed and anxious and not knowing what to do and being sad and being upset and like letting things rule your life, when honestly, you just have to get up, face the things that bother you, learn how to communicate, learn how to speak, learn how to help, learn how to give back, contribute, give back to the world. And all of a sudden you've got this abundant lifestyle that comes from these shifts.
Self-awareness is so key. And I couldn't agree more. I had to learn a lot of those on my own too. When I started as an entrepreneur, I quickly found some anxiety, some depression, just a lot of challenges. And it wasn't until I realized that personal development was how you not only get over that, but can make situations in the future a lot easier, right? And so not enough people really, in my opinion, spend time learning about themselves, what makes them tick, how they overcome things. So I'm really glad that you agree with how important that is, not only for a successful life, but to run a successful business that impacts people. So before I ask my last question, where can people find you and interact with you and get some more of this motivational content?
Party people, hit me up. It's your boy, Legacy Perez 1, Legacy Perez, the number 1, Legacy Perez 1, because I'm the one. Find me on Twitter, same thing. On Facebook, Legacy Perez 1. Honestly, DM me, send me messages. I love interacting with people. That's where you can find me.
Awesome. And I'll be sure to link to everything in the show notes for everybody as well. So for my final question, what is the one thing that you think people can do to speed up their success in business and life? Is it personal development? Is it a certain trick? Or what's something that you think can really accelerate that process?
I always believe that mentors are the biggest way to go. I think mentorship in general, like, is how you, obviously, I mean, it's not like it's science. It's like, I wanted to learn real estate, so I was co-piloting somebody that's done real estate. It's like, it's not rocket science. I was learning how to dance. I learned from somebody that was doing what I wanted to do. It's not rocket science, guys. Like, find somebody. Here's the problem. We're scared to approach our future self. That's a mic drop. Like, not to be like, we're scared to approach our future self, meaning we can't even get up and come to ask somebody, hey man, I see you're doing this. You're making millions of dollars in real estate. That's going to be me. How can I do it? That's the fear. So why not get up and just do what you love? Like why not get up and learn from someone, but first learn how to approach the someone.
That's so good. You got to just model successful people, right? Success always leaves clues, and you just got to approach them.
Big time.
Awesome, man. That was so good. I'm going to listen to that. Everybody else, I hope you listen to this like 3, 5, 10 times. Legacy. Then want to extend my utmost gratitude for being here. I really enjoyed it. So thank you again for sharing so much with my audience. Thanks, bro. I appreciate it a lot. I'm looking forward to what you got going on. Also, you guys check out, I have Behind the Movement. Obviously, it's I'm speaking about mentorship. I'm definitely helping people out right now, how to tell their stories and become speakers. So that's going to be something that I'm launching pretty shortly. And I would love to share with you guys and whoever else that's interested. Just send me a DM or something on Instagram. And anything I can help you, Michael, whatever it is, let me know. I'm supporting what you're doing because I think what you're doing is needed in the market. And if we get as many people as possible to understand that it's possible, that anything is possible, just as long as you devote yourself to it and you have a good mindset, you learn things, you're teachable, you have the ability to learn, the ability to shift. I think then we'll start to realize what a union of people we are and what an abundance there is to be had. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. All right. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that interview with Legacy. Again, that was one of my favorite ones. He has so much passion and drive for what he's doing. He's just a really awesome human being and very grateful that he was on the show. As always, I like to do a couple lessons that I got from the guest, and hopefully they'll resonate with you. The first one was to face your fear and to use fear as your friend. I think that's one of the most powerful things I've ever heard, and I've never really heard anyone else talk about the way that Legacy did. But again, fear is something that everyone feels. Even the most successful and wealthy individuals in the world, they still face the same fears. But it's what they do with fears that differentiate themselves from others. So instead of being scared of things, face your fear and do it anyway. Another thing I like that he really talked about was modeling successful people. As Tony Robbins always says, success leaves clues. Quit trying to reinvent the wheel. If you want to do something that someone else is doing, go out and learn from them. That's what I've done. And anytime I've started this podcast or a blog, a writing career, I just went to people that were doing it and learned from them directly. So if there's someone doing what you want to do in life, make sure to just reach out to them. Send them a DM, send them an email, sign up for their coaching, see if you can grab them coffee, whatever you can do, provide some value and start hanging out with the people that are doing what you want to do in life. And lastly, I just want to talk about his really importance he put on personal development. Personal development is not only great for you, it's great for your business. The more you're growing, the more your business is going to grow. And he talked a lot about that with using visualization and feeling and meditation and some of these other habits, but he's always developing. He's reading books, going to seminars. He's always trying to get better. And as he evolves, his business has evolved as well. So I want to thank Legacy again for being on the show. It was so much fun, and hopefully you guys really enjoyed that. Make sure to follow him. I have all the links in the show notes. And as always, I hope you have an epic day. Thanks for listening to Inspire Your Success podcast with Michael Leonard. If you like this show and want to learn more, check out inspireyoursuccess.com/podcast. Also, please leave us a review on iTunes to let us know how we're doing. Join us next week for more tips and tools to help you create the life you deserve.